care about the future, cause they live it in the past. Sal and Kurt are taking all 5 seasons of Blossom to task. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be weak in the knees. This show's got more range than Nick on the keys. Only gal in the house, and that's how she goes. One brother was a junkie and the other one was. Weekly lessons coming fast in the Russo flat. Blossom's teenage girl problems are as big as her hat. So take your opinionations and make them shine. It's the OK Bloomer podcast, and it's about damn time.
Don't know. Don't know.
So another week, another episode. What's up?
Not much, man. I'm super excited about this one.
The train keeps on rolling and taking us to strange and wonderful places.
Oh, absolutely, man. This one was a doozy.
Let's jump into it. I feel like we got a lot to talk about, and I know it's after midnight your time already, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's all right.
All-nighter. He's hardcore. He's hardcore. He's hardcore. Okay. Give us the description. What did Disney have to say, and what is the what's the other site again?
The TV database.
TV database versus Disney. Go.
This week, we are talking Season 1, Episode 5 of Blossom. It's titled Sex, Lies, and Teenagers. It originally aired February 4th, 1991. The synopsis, according to Disney+, Blossom dreams she is a subject on Donahue.
I guess.
Yeah.
Who writes this?
I don't know, man.
That's their takeaway. 23 minutes later, that's what stuck out to them the most and decided to commit it to the... Okay, whatever. All right. Maybe Donahue's writing these.
Maybe it is Donahue. Where's he been?
Maybe it's Donahue. That's his new gig. Blossom just is a constant trail of shows I've never watched, and
Right?
I love it.
I can for sure say that in 1991, I was not watching daytime talk TV.
Right?
Yeah.
I definitely was not.
It's a safe
It took
bet.
me a second when he popped up. I was like, it's I got Phil. I had Phil right off the top. I was
Yeah.
like, that's Phil. And then, yeah. Ricky Lake? Is that Ricky Lake? No.
Jenny Jones?
That-
Sally Jesse Raphael?
It's Jenny Jones. I haven't thought about Jenny Jones in years.
Right?
Where are they all now?
I'm pretty sure my mom was in the audience at Jenny Jones once.
No.
Yeah.
What was that, the like Ungrateful Sons episode?
Maybe. I wasn't part of it.
Her hand was up, let me tell you. When he went into the audience, her hand was up.
She had it on VHS at some point. I should ask her. It's somewhere.
Could you imagine if that was the episode where they came up beforehand? They're like, all right, we're gonna tape this little 2-minute thing for this show called Blossom, just to give you a heads up. So cameras are gonna roll and we're gonna need you to cheer. What if your mom was on this episode of Blossom?
That would have been crazy.
Could you imagine? If you looked into the audience and saw your mom in the Donahue part?
I feel like I would just shut my laptop and walk away forever.
It's over.
Like, if my mom was... Like, I can't believe this is where the show has taken us this week. My mom, potentially in Blossom.
Right? Check IMDb, see if your mom is credited on that episode.
I feel like I would know about that by now.
No, moms have a tendency of not telling you the actually important stories. Both my parents do that. They tell me the boringest stories in the world that go nowhere, and then years later, in passing, they'll casually mention, they're like, oh yeah, I met Anthony Hopkins once. And you're like, what?
Is that true?
No, that was just I don't know.
Damn it.
But I was like, how can you not tell me that story when you spend 10 minutes telling me about the mismatched lids on your Tupperware collection, right? Like, priorities. Tell me every story you remember in your old age, and I will rate them according to how badly I want to hear them. Because the stories you tell me, Mom and Dad, are at the bottom currently. We need to change that. I didn't think our parents would be getting it right off the bat of episode 5 of Blossom, but here we are. So, there's a Donahue flashback. Your mom may or may not have been in the audience.
Probably not, but I'm going to make a call after this.
You should call her right now. Wake her up. Mom!
All right, let's get back into this. Let's get back on track here. We're at 5 minutes in here.
I just sound like you'd call your mom and she's like, is that thing you do with Curtis? Have you two just got together yet? What's going on? That'd be one of those completely backfire moments if we tried it, right?
God, Mom,
Anyway.
Jesus.
She totally would just go. I've never even met your mom. I'm sure she's a nice lady.
No, you've met my mom. You've been to their house for dinner.
I did.
Yeah.
Man, all I remember about Dinner with Your Parents was your mom telling us how she was on Donahue once. And they were recording an episode of Blossom.
Well, so then I must have forgotten about it.
That's all I remember.
Okay, the TV database.
Yeah.
The description goes, Nick is disturbed by Blossom's increasing interest in sex. After sneaking off to a makeout party, Guilty Blossom dreams Phil Donahue has her in a segment on women who lie to their parents.
What was the first line of that again?
Nick is disturbed by Blossom's increasing interest in sex.
Pause. If anybody's interest in sex is disturbing in this episode, it's Nick!
Yeah, or the guy who wrote this synopsis, because I don't think that's accurate at all.
I guess. There's some frustration going on. A
Yeah.
TV database.
So basically, Blossom lies to her dad to go to a makeout party. That's the synopsis of the episode.
Yeah. And the TV database guy is trying to dunk on the Disney Plus people. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna write circles around you."
Yeah.
That's his motivation.
Yeah.
Disney Plus didn't hire him, so he's working for TV database, which is like a complete thankless job when the Disney people are phoning it in, running around with suitcases full of money. 5 o'clock, time to go home, and they all grab their briefcases and like dollar bills flutter in the air as they all run out of the Disney office. And the TV database guy makes his microwave dinner for one and sits down for another long night of summarizing Blossom.
Just tapping on keys in his basement.
Every once in a while, he pulls apart the slats of his window and hisses at the sunlight.
I'm living in a world of darkness.
Blossom, no! Don't go to the makeout party, Blossom. Don't do it! I'm so frustrated. From now on, I want you to envision this guy wearing, like, tattered gray sweatpants and, like, a shirt he got free in a box of beer with a really bad 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Looking himself dead in the eyes in the mirror as he types these synopses each week, okay? From now on.
Yeah, but he's like in a dark room with a blanket over his head.
Just he thinks he's writing about Blossom, but subconsciously he's writing about himself and his crap life. So we'll mirror that from now on. What's really happening at TV database?
What's this guy's name, you think?
I see him as a Randy.
I was going to say Richard.
Yeah, it's definitely an R name. And like twice a day, his mom opens the door to the basement and is like, "Richard, your father and I made bagels. Would you like one?" He's like, "No, Mom! I gotta write synopsis! You ruined it! I can't remember what Blossom was doing. God, I gotta watch this episode again. What did I tell you, Mom?"
Hey, young man, don't be talking to your mother that way. Shut up, Dale!
He stomps up the stairs and slams the door in their faces.
We have carved out quite the life for this guy.
And he's like, "When are you gonna get a real job?" "This is a real job, damn it, Richard, you're 37. Disney's not gonna hire you, okay? You gotta move on."
You're too wordy. You have to condense it down. If you ever want to make it to Disney Plus. I've seen your synopsis. They're bullshit.
They're both crying, and his dad's like got both his hands on his shoulders, and he's like shaking him. He's like, "No, Richard! Blossom goes to a party, period! That's all you need! It's all you need!" And they end up crying and hugging in each other's arms. But there's more, Dad. There's more.
I've got more stories to tell.
But what about 6?
Oh, that's our time.
So, the intro starts, and for the first time I notice the posters in Blossom's bedroom. She has the iconic cat in sunglasses poster in her bedroom wall, which I never noticed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's neat, because posters were apparently the original internet, because that's all that's on the internet now is funny cat pictures, and there they are.
Hey,
on
that's
Blossom's
true.
wall. I remember passing over them at the Scholastic Book Fair to buy my yellow Ferrari poster for $7 that I thought was the coolest. Just today, someone else was posting on Facebook. They're like, "What happened to the McDonald's orange drink?"
Oh, yeah.
And it took me back to a place where this was phased out pretty quickly, but I can remember being really young and we would have McDonald's cheeseburger day.
Yep.
At school.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yep.
And how magic was that? Like, I don't think we did it after like grade 3 or 4. That's the last time. But you'd go into the gym at lunch, and then there would just be those long tables, and there would just be mountains. Like I'm talking.
Oh, we didn't have that.
Upon hundreds of those yellow wrapped cheeseburgers. And then at the end of the table were those giant like barrels with a spigot of that orange drink.
We used to have like track and field days.
And they served you McDonald's?
Well, they would give us that orange drink. They had those big like jugs of like the orange drink with the spouts on the bottom.
That was like your school's version of giving the kids steroids so they could do better in the competition. No medicals after! No medicals! We had cheeseburger days until our school... We were like guinea pigs for some bone density study with the university. It's like the only one in Canada, and they chose our class.
Yeah.
And they would take everyone and like weigh and measure you and try to monitor your bone density as you got older. And I think we were all like overweight from McDonald's days, so they stopped doing that. I think they took us to monitor our bone density and then realized our obesity was a bigger problem in the schools.
No more McDonald's days.
We were not winning track and field anything, even though we were hopped up on orange drink like everyone else.
So the episode opens with Joey, Nick, and Anthony walking into the living room, and Joey's getting in trouble.
He bought a paper about Lincoln, but it was about the car, not the president.
Yeah, he wrote Car of the Year.
Yeah.
And he was mad because the guy that sold it to him sold it to 2 other guys, and then he asked too, whatever happened to a little thing called honor? That's when Anthony begins to choke him like...
Right? I wasn't sure what was up with that. That was... And then before we know it, we moved on from there because Blossom and Six come in hot. This week, Six wearing the giant hat. Blossom is embarrassed because Jason Bigler asked her for the time in class, and she said 2:15. And Nick says, what time was it? And she says 2:15.
He said, were you supposed to give him the weather and surf report?
But I was hoping Nick was going to say, it was 2:15 and you said 2:15. How could you? To prop up my theory last week that there's one member of the writing team who only brings that joke to the table. That's what I was waiting for, and it didn't happen. So,
it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's out. So they didn't use my joke. I was so excited. I was like, we're going to get that. We're going to get that right in like the first 2 minutes of the episode. We're going to get that 1-2 punch out of the way of the one writer that only brings that joke each week, but it wasn't meant to be. Blossom stands there and explains how she's a moron for not even trying to flirt with Jason Bigler. And Jason Bigler is incredibly fun to say.
Sure is.
Six stands there with a bored look on her face, like, yeah, Mr. Russo, your daughter's a moron, which I kind of enjoyed. Is this the original bitchy resting face from Jenna Von Oy?
Yeah, it must be, because she has it again later on in the show.
I'm there for that.
And I made note of it, because it's really good.
Yeah, I know, right? So Six has a date with Bigler's friend on Saturday, and Blossom is going to stay home and eat popcorn.
Yeah, she said she'll be the only person staying home trying to guess how long it takes to pop a bag of popcorn in the microwave. To which Nick says it takes 3 minutes and 15 seconds, because he hasn't been dating lately either.
And that's a nice little nod, because that comes into play a little later. So I didn't even realize that was foreshadowing at first, but here we go. Then Jason Bigler calls. So the gals run upstairs, Blossom picks up the phone and says, Dad, I got it, you can hang up, and no one under 30 is quite sure what the point of that was. They have no idea what's happening.
No, and then she gets Six to run downstairs to make sure that her dad actually hung up.
They're like, holy crap, 2 cell phones were connected back in the day? How did they keep that separate? Is everyone on the same cell phone? Like if all 3 people turned their cell phones on in the house, was it the same line?
2000's children have no idea what that's about.
No. I made mention that I'm not quite sure what the point of the first 2 minutes of the show was. They could have come home with a story about how they have a double date already instead of rushing her being embarrassed to him calling, to them running upstairs to make sure her dad hung up, to Jason Bigler asking her out over the phone. However, you just pointed out how Nick also hasn't been dating.
Yes.
In that first scene. That was established. And I guess that's probably the important part of why they crammed about 10 minutes of story into 90 seconds.
Yeah, it was a long walk just to make that revelation, but I guess it works.
Yeah, there wasn't anything. It just seemed really unnecessary, but I guess the point was Nick hasn't been dating either. That's very important, which I didn't really catch the first time. I didn't understand its importance. So that makes sense why they did that the way they did.
Yes.
So that's not a negative, that's a positive.
Wasn't there a wrestler that had that catchphrase?
That sounds like a... that sounds like a Diamond Dallas Page thing, and I didn't do that on purpose. My
That's
default
what it
is
was.
wrestling slogans.
Yeah, remember when he was like the motivational speaker?
Yes. Dad is asking out a clarinetist,
Yes.
and he gets shot down. He complains to Anthony, and the way Nick is kind of smug... It's fine. Okay, we just talked about wrestling for no reason. I made a point right here that the way Nick is kind of smug and put off totally reminds me of 90s WCW Eric Bischoff. It's like, is Eric Bischoff channeling Nick Russo a few years later? Because that's exactly kind of the smarmy character Eric Bischoff had at WCW.
I did not catch that at all.
I don't know how much more wrestling we should talk in this episode.
We're going to alienate some people here.
Was this where he's talking about how while he was married, she wasn't?
Yeah, I guess he had said that they've been playing in a band, I guess, or something for some time, and that it just never kind of lined up. Like, he was married and she was single, then when he was first divorced, she got married, and now they're both not with anyone. So, yeah, I guess he was just saying they both kind of missed the opportunity.
How do you feel about that?
What do you mean?
He's been interested and flirty with this girl while he's married, and then same thing when she's married.
Yeah, you know what? I never thought of that. How horrible of me.
How horrible of him.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, clearly his marriage wasn't good anyways.
That's fair. That's something to throw out there.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll ever get an episode that's kind of like a flashback of like Nick with the mom while they're together. If we'll ever get like a window into their marriage.
I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
But when he was telling Anthony that, I was like, you're kind of losing me, man. Like...
I also find it weird about Anthony, in this episode especially, he very much acts like a co-parent with Nick, and he always just happens to be in a room when like something's going on to like give his 2 cents. Hey, you know what? First episode where they don't mention once that he's a junkie. Or a former junkie.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think it comes up at all in this episode.
Well, we mentioned it in our snappy new intro, so...
Sure did.
Suddenly, there's a change of plans. Sheila Osterman is having a party, and the boys want to take the girls to the party.
Wait. Hold on, Curtis. Hold on. Are you talking about Sheila, my parents are never home, Osterman?
I am talking about Sheila, my parents are never home, Osterman.
All right, carry on.
Because all her parties, since her parents are not there, are makeout parties. Ooh. So there's huge implications of the boys wanting to take Blossom and Six to Sheila's party,
right?
Knowing it's a makeout party.
I think these guys have worse intentions than Steven Dorff.
Funny you mention that. Blossom talks about the few times she's kissed someone, and I lean forward, begging her to mention Bobby. Let's get Steven Dorff back on the show. It does not happen. The gals discuss the possibility of going to a makeout party, and Blossom pours out all her insecurities, and Six interrupts her with a story about how at one of the makeout parties, some guy apparently put his tongue in a girl's ear.
What?
Then there's a room, quote, the room.
The room.
Six heard some girl named Patty went into the room, came out 20 minutes later, had no eyebrows, and joined a covenant. Now, I wonder what kids today think when they hear about this. Like at makeout parties, there was always a closet or a room.
Right.
But it was just kind of known in our generation. The room meant you and usually just one other person mutually consented to isolate yourselves away from the rest of the party and get a little more brave or exploratory with each other. But if kids today don't have that context, discussing something vaguely called the room is probably terrifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, do you just get sent into the room by yourself? Like, what's in the room? What's waiting for you in the room? Who's waiting for you in the room? I don't know if makeout parties are still have the structure they did when we were in school, but if there's just this mysterious room, I don't know how society has progressed makeout parties, but I could just see today's kids watching this and being like, what the hell?
The room these days is probably their safe space
Oh.
for when they get triggered.
Isn't The Room that movie with, oh, hi, Ma?
Yeah. I did not hit her. I did not.
I've never seen that either.
Have you not?
I've
Oh
just
my
seen
God.
so many clips of it.
Oh man, you have to watch it. I want to go see it when theaters are open again. I would love to go see it like in a theater where people shout and like throw things at the screen and stuff, because apparently
for sure.
Apparently it's awesome to see it with a crowd. Yeah, it is painfully bad.
If people have no context of what a room is at a makeout party, the only thing they heard was Six remembering a girl going into the room, coming out later with no eyebrows, and joining a covenant. Or no, sorry, a convent. What am I saying? Covenant? Isn't that a witch thing?
Yeah.
She joined a convent.
Whatever's in that room is some crazy
It's gonna take your
went down.
eyebrows and you're gonna come out a different person.
Yeah. So they decide that if the party gets too crazy for them, then they have a buddy system together and they're just going to leave.
Yep.
And then Blossom says, well, I can't tell my dad that I'm going to this party because then he's going to call Sheila, my parents are never home, Osterman's parents, and then she's going to find out that they're not there and she's not going to be allowed to go. So they decide that they have to lie.
So she does.
Yes.
She starts lying to her dad, and this part confused me because this didn't pay off. I assumed the way he was talking to her and his body language that he immediately
was suspicious.
saw right through this.
Yeah.
But why was he being so weird?
Yeah, he was asking her because she was like, oh, we're going to the movies. And then he was asking about the movie, and she said the new Woody Allen movie, which is our canceled person of the week, I believe.
Sounds good.
And then he says he saw it already, so I look forward to discussing it. And she says, well, we may not go to that movie. So then he keeps hitting her with these questions. And then she straight up asks him, like, why do you keep asking me all these questions? Like, do you not trust me?
Yeah.
And it seems like he's kind of suspicious of her here.
And he immediately buckles and does the whole, no, sweetie, there's no one I trust more than you.
Yeah.
This part is so over the top and he's not acting like himself. And I just brushed it off because as a dad, I was like, he sees right through this. He's waiting for her to do the right thing and come clean.
Right.
And he's just playing along.
Yeah.
And that's not actually what's happening, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I was
first...
waiting for something at the end of the scene. Like, waiting for, a button on the end of the scene to, kind of tie it up. But, it just doesn't happen. Like, she just lies, leaves the house, and then he just shrugs his shoulders.
He looks like a bumbler. Because if he really didn't figure out what's happening, he's kind of really dumb. Which isn't what that character's been at before.
Yeah.
He's always been smart and made right calls and kind of been on top of the family dynamics. And this, I don't know. Maybe as we'll see in a little bit, there's not as much blood in his head as usual. I don't know. So from there, take it away, Sal. We're on the set of Donahue.
Yes.
I'm gonna drop back here.
All right. Well, it cuts to Donahue, and it's also the dream sequence of the week, which they've skipped out on only one episode. I like how they do the dream sequences. They just cut it into the next scene, and they don't give you any indication that it's all in Blossom's head. But by this point, by episode 5, you just kind of know, and that's kind of cool. Phil Donahue was a daytime talk show host from 1967 to 1996. I read that his talk show ended because the talk show field became increasingly saturated as the 1990s progressed. And I guess that's true with the rise of Jerry Springer and stuff.
That sounds like loser talk to me.
He wasn't going to sell out, man.
Donahue stuck to the issues.
Yeah. His guest on the show this week is Blossom, and the subject is women who lie to their parents. So immediately the crowd's booing Blossom because she lied to her dad about the makeout party. Donahue's first question to Blossom is, how does it feel to be the scum of the earth?
Fair.
Little harsh, but all right. So he goes to a caller on the phone. Guess what? It's Joey. And Joey said he was crushed when he found out that Blossom lied to their dad. And then he asked for Madonna's phone number and gets cut off.
Good tie-in with Madonna.
Yeah. Then we get the second resting bitch face from 6. She says that Blossom should be grounded and that she never lies to her parents. The look of disdain on her face was pretty funny.
It's a thing of art.
It really is. It was well done.
They're really sliding into their characters this week, I found.
Yeah. Blossom's sitting beside an old school wood paneled television. And Nick pops up and he says that he no longer has a daughter and then breaks down crying. It was a pretty quick scene, pretty quick cameo, but it was cool to have that audience, including my mother, must have been very confused that day.
Probably.
It was a funny dream sequence this week.
Last week, you gave Mayim acting credit when she was going back and forth with Little Richard.
Yeah.
And I have to pause and give this gal 100% props for the way she's playing a version of Blossom that would be on the talk show. Like, she's Blossom, but she's doing all the body language and facial expressions of every person who goes on a show like Donahue and gets torn apart.
Right.
Like, I loved it. I thought she was doing so well, and she must have been, as like an actress, having so much fun being able to play that, like, oh, I didn't expect that coming on this show.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was really well done. It was funny.
That, like, white trash idiot body language, she's just nailing it. Like, oh, I didn't expect you to talk to my dad, even though that's what this show is about, you know? So good. So good.
Yeah, well done. Props again to Mayim. Crushing it.
She pops up. It was a dream.
Yeah, she does the dramatic wake up once again.
It'd be great if they just recycled that scene, like they only shot it once and they used that same scene of her sitting up in bed every episode. I'd appreciate that.
Like when Uncle Phil used to throw Jazz out of the house on Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
It was always the same clip.
Okay, back in the kitchen, it's Joey and Anthony. Joey claims he's learning one thing from being grounded. And that one thing is, Dad keeps condoms in his sock drawer.
Yeah.
Sounds like Nick was jumping the gun a little with his clarinet friend.
Yeah, a little bit.
When would Nick take a potential mate back to that house?
I was going to actually address this later in the episode, but it must be incredibly hard to be like a single parent and dating with especially like children their age who are just like always around.
Good on you, Nick. I don't want to break your spirit, but I can't see a scenario where he's going to bring the clarinet lady home and take her upstairs and there's not at least 2 kids sitting on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what door they open, Anthony's always in that room, so...
Right?
He's always just kind of sitting around the house.
I mean, I guess that's where you toss him a dime bag and be like, yeah, sorry, bro. We'll get you back on track after this. Horrible!
That is
Why
terrible.
Why did I say that?
That is terrible.
Horrible!
Speaking of Anthony, I want to point out, this is becoming its own little segment in itself, is Anthony's wardrobe of the week. This week, he's sitting at the table looking like Tony Soprano.
Forget about it. He's acting like Tony Soprano.
Yeah, I
He's
know,
sitting at
right?
the table, doling out advice.
Yeah. Tony Soprano's always like eating on the show. He's got the white wife beater with like the unbuttoned floral shirt over top of it. I was like,
You
what
say that
is
to me
this?
again, I dare you. You say that to me one more time. Don't you walk away.
Oh, so good.
Each character must have their own designated writer, and Anthony's writer is just a revolving door.
Yeah.
So Blossom comes and sits with him. She says she's going to the movies, and Anthony sees right through her and says she looks like she's wearing makeout clothes. And I love Anthony's demeanor here. He's like having fun, but he's not really giving her the gears.
Yeah.
You know, like he's pretty chill about it, but he's still calling her out.
Yeah.
He points out how she's wearing a turtleneck, which is supposed to hide hickeys, but doesn't. And now, this is my revelation of the week.
Let's hear it.
Have we ever seen Anthony in short sleeves?
No.
I wonder if that's going to be a thing later, because he's talking about hiding things, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if the dude's got mad track marks.
Oh, maybe. Wait, no, wasn't he in a t-shirt earlier in the episode?
In this one?
I think he was wearing a
Is he
t-shirt with like a vest over top of it.
Don't shut me down, Sal. He's got track marks, and that's going to come out later, okay? That's going to be a big reveal of why he's always wearing long sleeves, because he's embarrassed about his track marks, and that's why he knows about hiding scars and hickeys, and that's his thing, okay? This is my Blossom revelation. Don't do this to me. I was so proud of this.
That's really good. Do you want to start that again?
No! Keep going.
All right, I'll just cut in this reaction then. Ah, that's really interesting, man. You might be onto something there, Curtis.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. I wasn't even done the sentence and you were shutting me down. Like, wasn't it just in this episode? Like, come on!
Sorry, man.
No, that's fine.
You were looking very in-depth into the scene and like looking at underlying tones and foreshadowing, and I wrote down Anthony called turtleneck hide a hickey dicky.
That should have been the episode description. Oh my god, this is so much fun.
Hey, you know what
Crying.
I've noticed since episode 2, but I've never actually pointed it out. I keep forgetting every week. What is with the giant recycling bins in the kitchen?
They're environmentally aware, Sal.
Was there like a big push in like the early 90s?
If you're a good person.
I remember like little PSAs and stuff. There's 3 gigantic recycling bins in the background.
Well, Anthony drinks, okay? Maybe they try to keep up. I don't know.
Who's shutting who down now? I thought there'd be some banter about the recycling bins. God.
Hey, what do you want to say about recycling bins?
No.
I don't remember.
No, that's all,
If
man.
there was a giant push for recycling, probably.
Wasn't that like G.I. Joe's whole thing? Like the Care Bears? Like they'd always have like those little messages. Always remember to recycle your cans. Wasn't that a G.I. Joe lesson?
No. G.I. Joe lessons were like, if your uncle tells you not to tell, you should still tell somebody.
There is no way that was a G.I. Joe episode. There is no way.
It was never about recycling. Now that we've just murdered 10 Cobra commanders, make sure you separate your plastic from paper.
Yeah, and knowing's half the battle.
No. I don't know, maybe. I don't know anything anymore.
I didn't grow up in the 80s. I apologize. I was born in the late 80s.
You know what? Maybe they were doing an environmentally friendly thing, and Blossom was trying to be ahead of the curve. Maybe the one writer that uses the "he did this, that monster" joke each and every week is also like super environmentally friendly, and they're like, "All right, fine, Pat, we'll put 6 recycling. Yeah, just do it. Just put them on the set."
Just do it to shut Pat up.
The writing room is probably 5 grizzled veterans who have been writing television for 30 years and have it down to just an absolute science where they're just like plugging holes. And then some producer's kid who's like, hey, you know what's really cool? Recycling. We should put recycling on the set. And they're like, oh,
They're like, oh, Jesus. Like, meanwhile, they're all ashing cigarettes, like, right on the table.
oh, completely. And they're like, okay, gotta make sure Anthony stays in long sleeves because it's gonna blow everyone's mind when we have that piano moment and he rolls them up and we see scars and he starts crying about how he can't wear short sleeves anymore from all the track marks of his years of heroin abuse. Yeah, you know, that's cool and everything, but we should put some recycling bins on set.
All right, Pat, whatever.
Fine! God! Anthony claims he came home once with a hickey the size of Maui. And I was like, The Rock's character from Moana? That's pretty huge.
I get it.
Disney. Yeah, that was a bridge to nowhere.
I'm sorry, man. I've never seen it.
What?
No.
You haven't seen Moana?
No, man.
Oh,
My kid's
Dwayne
not old enough
Johnson.
for that yet. We'll
You
get there.
were old enough.
Yeah.
The Rock, you gotta support Dwayne Johnson. You're welcome. No? Okay.
I'm really sorry.
No, hey, that's fine. It's just the third time we're talking wrestling in this episode for
Yeah.
no reason, so it's probably better you shut me down.
I've seen an embarrassingly low number of Disney and Pixar movies.
That's a conversation for another day, my friend.
All right, let's move on.
6 shows up at the door.
Yes, and Nick right away notices that they're both wearing turtlenecks. But again, it's not the thing like he's onto them. He just points it out, and then it's not really addressed after that.
But it seems like he is onto them.
Yeah, but
And that's what I didn't get.
yeah, I know exactly, but it doesn't play out that way. So again, it's like they're kind of doing another swerve where you think it's going to go one way in the episode and it doesn't.
That's a good point.
That's the 3rd week in a row that it's happened.
Oh, I'm hypocritical. I was calling this episode out for that. But you're right. It does actually follow the pattern. I just don't like how they're making Nick look like an idiot. That was my thing. I totally get that's exactly what they're doing, and that went over my head. They're leading you one way, and then they do the Blossom writing swerve where it never goes that way. But I just felt he was a little over the top in completely knowing what's going on and waiting for them to do the right thing. And that's not at all what's happening in the scene.
Yeah, fair enough.
Huh. No, I think we're both right.
But at the same time, 3 episodes prior, the whole thing was about Blossom trying to get Nick to trust her. So
Yeah.
maybe he had just moved on from that and was just trusting her. And now she broke
That
that
is
trust.
true.
Because he kind of does address that later on.
No, you're right. You're changing my mind about this episode.
All right, we're learning things as we move along here.
We've got a lot of growing up to do. Okay, they go to this party, and like all fake parties, people are randomly dancing all over the house, which never happens in real parties.
Yeah.
I've been to parties where people are dancing, but there's like a designated place to dance. But there's never parties where there's just patches of 2 or 3 people here and there dancing.
And like dancing really unenthusiastically.
Yeah.
The extras look like they're not even enjoying being there.
No, it's rough, and yet that's something they do. Every episode is guilty of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a lot of old people not knowing what happens in parties. Like, the damn kids are dancing. Back in my day, they couldn't show Elvis from the waist down, so no one was dancing. No one knew what dancing was. The hell's happening down there? Is he moving his legs? And then Pat's like, yeah, but where's the recycling bin at this party? Come on, guys.
All right, we're past the recycling bin.
Suddenly, the music stops. And everyone immediately starts making out, which I can't say I've really seen before either.
So Blossom and Six get nervous. Oh, wait.
Let's meet the boys!
Yes, we haven't met the guys yet. We haven't met their dates.
Take it away, buddy.
Blossom's date, Jason, is played by none other than Johnny Galecki.
Did they date in The Big Bang Theory?
No, she dated Sheldon.
Ah, boo! That sucks. I was hoping that was the character she dated, and I was in a really warm place when I thought of that. Like, could you imagine if those two actors reconnected in a different role 20 years later?
Yeah, well, I mean, they did.
It's still very cool.
Yeah.
The music stops, everyone starts making out. The girls have an emergency meeting in the bathroom.
Yes.
So they go in the bathroom, they start talking each other up. I'm looking down at my phone, taking notes. They're scared, but they agree to go forward with this. Then they both say, breath check, and I stop typing and look up. And what I thought might happen didn't happen. So then they go back out to the party.
So when they're back out in the party, they think that they find the room. A guy leaves the room, and he asks if anybody wants anything, to which somebody in the room yells, get me some chapstick and get me a turtleneck.
That's very funny. I noticed he had eyebrows.
What else did you notice about this guy? Did you notice a big cameo here?
Is he credited as boy?
Yes, he is. I saw his name in the credits, and I had to go back and find out where he appeared in the episode.
Web snappers!
Tobey Maguire, who has his back turned to the camera 90% of his cameo.
Getting it done in the room is one Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
He's macking on the ladies so hard, they need chapstick. Unbelievable.
It's where he perfected the
Right?
Spider-Man kiss.
Right? I wonder if the lady in there is hanging upside down. That's dark.
That's too far, Curtis.
Because the Spider-Man scene in the alley, you know what?
I alluded to it, and
With
you
great
outright
power
said it.
comes great responsibility, and he's using it for all the wrong reasons right now. Okay? Spider-Man! His spidey sense tingling takes on a whole different meaning when he comes out of the room.
There's a deleted scene that he went to Bobby for the tips on what to do in the room.
Really?
No.
No. I would love Bobby to show up.
Come on.
I'd almost got over him. I'd almost got over the missing Stephen Dorff in this show, but
Yeah.
not even Tobey Maguire can make it better.
Six's date had a greasy rat tail. Did you see that thing?
It was a thing of beauty. Oh my god. I actually, when I saw Tobey Maguire credited as boy, I wrote, Seabiscuits Tobey Maguire. Okay.
Awesome.
Right. Are we ready to go back home and deal with Nick Russo?
Yes.
The doorbell rings and it's Diane, the clarinet player.
Yes, it is.
I'm supposed to feel satisfied that neither of them gave in to their throbbing impulses and cheated on their spouses with each other at some point during both their marriages to other people. So yay, I'm gonna cheer this on. Because now they're in the clear and they can make it happen, right? She basically throws herself at him.
It's Sue Ellen Mischke from Seinfeld.
It absolutely is. And she was also Miss Arizona 1980.
Oh, yeah? I only know her as the Braless Wonder. She's the heiress to the O. Henry candy bar fortune.
So she basically throws herself at him. And I cannot wait to see the look on Nick's face when he realizes Joey took his condoms. And I was actually getting worried we weren't going to have that one-shot disposable character in this episode, because we hadn't really had it yet. The boys Blossom and Six were with are kind of nondescript.
Yeah.
Seabiscuit's Toby Maguire is only seen from behind. But yeah, so I was getting worried. I was excited because now we have that disposable character we're never going to see again. So I shouted, "Hey, Bobby, Elaine, and Stephanie, make room in the pit for Diane." She says the first time she ever saw his hands on the piano, she knew she wanted to make a duet with him. I don't know how I feel about this.
It was very charged. It was a very charged conversation.
Yeah. Again, so these two have been absolutely lusting for each other while married to other people.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to get behind this?
Apparently.
Okay. They start macking on the couch, and we get our second... What do we get, Sal?
Did we get a whoa?
We got our second whoa.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, you were too into the macking.
I guess so. I was like, oh my god, Nick Russo's making out with Sue Ellen Mishke.
Right? Miss Arizona 1980, what are you doing? I have to point out, Joey, as an actor, does a phenomenal job of acting completely oblivious, but riding that line of not acting unbelievably dumb.
Right.
Like, even when he sits between them and is like, "What's going on, guys?"
Yeah.
He has a look on his face that's absolutely believable. Like, he's not sabotaging his dad, and he's not over-the-top Homer Simpson dumb either. And I really respected his acting ability in this scene. I thought he played this perfectly.
Fair enough, man.
It would be so easy to play this over the top.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
So he came down upset because his Nintendo was broken, which is a callback to last week's episode.
Gotta blow in the cartridge, pal.
And then Diane asked Nick to go over to her place so that they could practice their duet together. And I just wrote in brackets, "Soup's horned up."
I really like this part because he starts getting up off the couch, and to kind of keep the charade possibly going in front of Joey, he says, "Do you have a piano?" And she angrily says, "No." And he says, "Let's go." Like, all right,
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. We're not even pretending anymore.
Yeah.
It is go time for one Nick Russo, because this has been building for 10 years apparently. So this scene has some weight.
That's true.
This guy, divorced, finally can make it happen with the clarinet player after a decade. And what happens, Sal?
Comes to a screeching halt because he realizes that he has to wait at home for Blossom to phone.
Okay, what was your immediate reaction to that?
That he's being a responsible father.
Okay. Good on you. I guess you're a better person than me. Because
Okay.
as soon as it happened, when he was like, "Wait, I can't go. I can't scratch this 10-year itch because I promised my daughter I'd be by the phone in case she needs me," I threw my hands up in the air and I was like, "Come on, man." And then I took a breath and I kind of said to myself, no, actually, I get it.
I probably went through the same thought process as you.
Yeah. Immediately, I thought it was completely unrealistic, but then I gave it a second, I gave it a beat, and no, that's completely believable in that situation, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah, totally.
And may have been the best part of this episode. Because once again,
Nick is
sucks
just
to be
trying to
Nick.
be a good dad, right?
right. And he's sacrificing everything to be that good dad because his wife wasn't a good mom. And even when it comes down to this, he makes the right choice.
Exactly.
I really like that.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was good.
And then they don't let it get too deep because you see Joey leaning against the door, grinning like an idiot, which, again...
He is way too into his dad's sex life.
Right? But they didn't point this out, but he's like, if I wasn't grounded, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
He's got that, like, I know I'm ruining it for you, but it's your own fault.
Yeah, exactly.
You hadn't grounded me.
He's holding it
You'd have
over
the
his
house
head
to
for
yourself.
sure.
Yeah. I like that they pull that off and they don't have to beat you over the head with the explanations like most shows would.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on with this scene. And they don't have the part where, hey, Dad, if you didn't ground me, I wouldn't be here blocking you. Joey. It's just implied. Take me back to the makeout party, Sal.
Oh, man. Okay, so Blossom and Johnny Galecki are slow dancing, and Six is making out with Rat Tail.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, so Blossom and Jason are sitting on the couch, and he puts his arm around Blossom.
But first he does the, are you thirsty? Because there's sodas over there, and he points, and that's the... And I wrote, why mess with the classic?
It's true.
Right? They start making out.
Yeah.
And it's been like 2 seconds, and Sheila comes running in and says, everybody has to get out. And Blossom turns and says, take a hike, Sheila, and goes back to kissing Bigler. And I love Salty Blossom.
Yeah.
Salty Blossom is the best. But Sheila says, my parents are home. You gotta go. The parents come in. They're rounding up kids and making them call their parents. That's not a thing. But Blossom and Six end up back in the bathroom together.
And the dad, who is not Phil Hartman, knocks on the door. You could only hear his voice, and in my head I was like, that kind of sounds like Phil Hartman, and I would really hope that it was, but it wasn't.
Rest in peace. So they get busted in the bathroom.
And they have to call their parents.
Yeah, they look at the window, and they go, I wonder what's outside, and you hear the voice on the other side of the door go, a pit bull, now open it up. I don't know. I don't know what you do in that situation. But they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and marched out. And come on, ladies, you could have came up with a harebrained scheme. Cast a Full House would have found a way out of there.
So the next scene, Blossom and Nick arrive at home, and Nick is pissed.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Of course, Anthony and Joey are in the room, just sitting on the couch. Nick sends Blossom straight to her room. She's upset. And Joey goes, oh, Blossom at a makeout party? What was she, the lookout?
That might be my favorite Joey line so far. I gotta tell you, as a dad, like, I'm feeling Nick's pain. And not just because he could have been having sex he's been dreaming about for 10 years, but he's trying to do the right thing. I would actually sleep with any member of the Seinfeld cast just to say I did, but that's neither here nor there. He's trying to do the right thing, and he cannot catch a single break. Like, I'm sure his ex-wife is out there probably sleeping with a different dude every night, getting up at noon, not even thinking about these other four, doing it all again, and poor Nick can barely keep his head above water, being the good one. I said he can barely keep his head above water when things are going smoothly, let alone when his kids are being jerks like this.
True.
Yeah, you mentioned what was she, the lookout? And then Nick yells at Joey. And then Joey takes the offense and is like, why am I the only one that gets grounded around here? And Nick says he just grounded Blossom for 6 months, and the studio audience is crushed.
Yeah, man. I wrote that too. The crowd gasped in shock.
And that didn't sound forced. That was like, oh my God moment from the crowd. Props to the live audience that day.
Yeah.
That really brought weight to that moment. You know, I don't know if I would have reacted at the 6 months as much as they did after the crowd went, whoa! And then Joey flips on Nick and says, geez, Dad, she kissed a guy. She didn't kill him. And then he goes upstairs. And what is happening? This is the writing I'm talking about on this show.
Yeah.
And this is so family dynamics, where you break off into pairs and then you flip on each other. This is how real life is, where you're super tight with a sibling only to turn on them later when it suits your purpose, you know? Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's a constantly revolving wheel.
Yeah, it was
I don't know
done.
if I've seen it done better than the first 5 episodes of Blossom on any 90s show.
Well, there it is, man.
Like, this is literally what I love about 6 Feet Under, my favorite show I've ever seen, is they pull off stuff like this, and it's so realistic and relatable. 10 out of 10 for Blossom. Seriously, this show!
And then there's a great callback joke here by Nick. Because when Joey's walking up the stairs, he goes, and stay out of my sock drawer.
Right. Don't worry, Nick, you don't need it today. You don't need it.
That was great. And then here comes Anthony co-parenting again. He asks Nick, is he mad about the lying or is he mad that Blossom went to a makeout party?
Do you think they wrote out Agnes because they needed the Anthony character to be the voice of reason?
Maybe. That makes sense.
He really is Agnes in this episode.
And then there was just like a really long silence here.
I look at the time, there's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the episode, including credits, and I was wondering if this show had the guts to go off the air with Blossom and her dad mad at each other. I really was wondering if they were going to do that. One of my biggest childhood memories, do you remember the first time you just went to bed mad at your parents without like having that, oh, let's make up moment? That's one of my biggest childhood memories. We had a blow up and I just made the decision that day. I was like, no, I'm just going to keep ignoring him and I'm going to bed and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Where always before in my young life, you had to make up and you had to have that crying, blubbering moment of I'm sorry and everything's back on track and you feel good again. But I could vividly remember that day where I was like, nah, going to bed. They can worry about me. They can realize this is the time. I'm not coming back out and apologizing. So I was living vicariously through this episode. I was like, is this what's going to happen? We're going off the air? I wouldn't put it past this show. Nick goes upstairs. And this is where I realized he actually wasn't onto her at all this whole time. Which, we've come back around on that.
Right.
You changed my mind about all that, so I won't go into that.
Yeah, that's why we talk it out after.
It's funny because in the past when we talk it out, it would always end with, well, in my opinionation, the sun is going to surely shine, right?
Very
and here
true.
we are. Nick and Blossom are in Blossom's room.
Yes, Blossom's sulking. She's really upset. She says she can't even look at her dad because she doesn't want to start to cry.
I don't think I've heard the word sulk since 1991. Good on you.
Nick's still having a tough time with Blossom going to the party, and he's hurt that she lied to him. And the fact that she did it so well. He said, I would have bought a used car from you. So this scene is our piano moment of the week. And I thought it was really good because Blossom did a really good job, because I don't think at that age I was that good at reasoning. I think she did a really good job of reasoning with her dad and like getting her point across to him where they could come to an understanding.
Well, she calls him out on being a teenager and did you ever lie to your parents?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He says he does. I learned something about myself in this scene too, Sal, to be perfectly honest.
What's that?
This energy of lying to someone to do something cool in my life really only existed when you and I worked together at the TV station.
Really?
Because that was what it was like working there. We always had to go out and do shoots at like 1 a.m. without permission and come back and edit all night and get it on air.
That's true.
And it was always that we would get in trouble, but we made incredible television that the viewers loved. And our supervisor at the time would be like, you gotta ask me for permission. And we would be like, if we asked you, you would have said no. This is the exact same conversation. Just instead of teenagers and my parents, it was my boss and I was like 29.
True.
It's the only time I've had this vibe in my life where it's like, you're being completely unreasonable. I need to make good television and you will say no, so I gotta lie and do it behind your back. And this is just the dynamic we have, and there's no other way to do this.
During that job, we lived on that, what's that phrase? Where it's like, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
100%.
Yeah.
And we always made the right choice. The best television we ever made on our community channel was the stuff that would not have been approved.
Exactly.
Every time we had emails from viewers where they took the time to email in and tell us they loved something, or even when radio stations would go on the air and be like, hey, have you been watching this coverage? It's amazing. It was always the stuff that we always got in trouble for because we didn't clear it ahead of time. And that's the energy of this scene.
What a ride, man. What a ride.
Right? With like a minute left in this show, Nick sucks all the air out of the room. And he says, now we have something in our relationship we've never had before. Doubt.
Right.
And that is heavy. That hangs in the air.
Yeah.
48 seconds left. We get the piano music, and that ends the show. One audience member starts clapping way sooner than everyone else.
He's just like,
He's totally doing the slow clap, looking around, and no one else started clapping yet.
Yeah, they kind of come to an understanding. Like, Nick says he was a little harsh with the 6-month grounding. He has to think about it. It's going to be less time, which means by next episode she's not going to be grounded. But
Absolutely.
yeah, they kind of come to an understanding.
It's not a good understanding.
Not really.
It's like a we agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm really happy we talked this out because my original notes to end this episode was that this felt more like a by-the-numbers teenager sitcom. The script was pretty safe, didn't really force you to think outside the box like the pilot in episode 3 and 4. It's basically she lies to her dad to go to a makeout party, gets busted, and then the dad has to remember how he did the exact same thing when he was that age. And I just felt if this show was going to run that play, I expected more in the end. But there was more. It just went over my head for some reason. So thank you for making me realize this show, episode 5, actually did a pretty sweet job of continuing the vibe of 3 and 4 and 1. And we'll never talk about 2 again, even though, Bobby. I mentioned that this was the first episode that I didn't really put my laptop down and walk away thinking about it. But now I'm thinking about it. So, yeah, that's on me, man. That wasn't on this episode.
There you go.
Ryan Francis was Ricky, the guy with the rat tail.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't bother writing down his name.
He went on to be young Peter Pan in Hook that same year.
Really?
As well as appearing in the original horror movie parody, Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th, which is completely underrated.
Never even heard of it, man. We haven't really kept track of our running tally here. So our woe counter is at
2! And we have 4 characters that we'll never see again now.
Yes.
I guess 5 start with Agnes.
What are our canceled references at?
Oh, we have to go back and do that. There's Bobby Brown.
We got Bobby Brown. We got Bill Cosby. There's Money for Nothing by Dire Straits.
Yeah, that was that. I should have wrote this down.
Yeah.
Where are we going for episode 6
Episode 6 is called I Ain't Got Nobody.
Can I have the final say of this episode?
Take it away, my friend.
So, you mentioned Brenda Strong from Seinfeld, obviously probably her most memorable role.
Yes.
I mentioned she was Miss Arizona 1980.
At least in my eyes, yeah.
No, that's fine. Did you know, though, in 2005, Brenda Strong became the national spokesperson for the American Fertility Association. In 2018, she became a spokesperson for Path to Parenthood, which is the largest comprehensive patient advocacy group for potential LGBTQ parents. This girl's done incredible things. She launched a women's health campaign in collaboration with... Are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Brenda Strong launched a women's health campaign in collaboration with the drug company Pfizer. When is this going to air? By the end of April, I may have a shot full of Pfizer in my body.
Amazing.
How insane is that?
Crazy.
By the time this airs, I may have had my first of 2 shots of Pfizer, and I will be thinking of Brenda Strong the entire time. Boom, Sal.
Shout out Brenda Strong.
Making it happen. What do you say after that?
I have nothing to say.
See you next week, folks. Dad! No! It's for your own good, son!
Oh my god.